Hello, welcome to the sideboard here at the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Washington, D.C. I'm Nick Miller alongside the Players' Championship champion,
what? Where's my
Brad
belt?
Nelson.
I need to hold a belt and just be like,
Cue
I'm
the
coming
theme
for you,
music.
15.
That aside,
Yeah.
we'll get your belt on the way. I think we got that.
All right, sweet.
Standard specialists, bring into the table, green-black, Constellation with Fate Reforged.
Yeah, it's great. BBD, Todd, and I just like tested all week. CVM was there for a couple nights too, and we were just trying to find the new cards, and one of them that we were dabbling with in Mono Green Devotion was Frontier Siege, but Mono Green's a little inconsistent, so we just kept trying new decks with that card until we finally came to Constellation, since it's an enchantment.
Right. You came to the store, Star City Games, like 3 days after the spoiler was out, and you're like, all right, we're playing Ugin and we're playing Frontier Siege. And you're like, we're playing Ugin on turn 4.
Yes.
You know, iterations of that.
Yeah, this deck is a little worse at casting on turn 4 because the Mono Green Devotion deck can use Nissa as a ramp spell. So you have to have 2 mana guys before Frontier Siege, but we'll settle for Hornet Queen on turn 4, Ugin on turn 5.
Right.
That's fine.
So you've got the Constellation base, you know, you got your mana dudes, you got Elvish Mystic, Sylvan Caryatid, Courser, Crufix. But then, on top of that, Eidolon Blossoms, to draw you cards, Frontier Siege is an enchantment. So not only are you ramping, but you're drawing cards with that, of course, Doomwake Giant, holding the glue together, killing the tokens.
But the most crucial thing about this deck is, you know, like the Constellation theme decks rarely got to trigger 2 Doomwakes unless you put the second in play. If you play Frontier Siege on your 4th mana, and I say 4th mana as in like you can get to 5 mana next turn, during main phase 1, you cast Doomwake Giant, and main phase 2, because you get 2 more green off Frontier Siege, you can cast either an Eidolon or a Courser and get a second trigger. Now that's killing all the Mentors, all the Goblin Rabble Masters, all the Seekers. It's just so phenomenal that this deck is allowed to cast 2 spells a turn that are both big, or 1 huge spell.
Right. A deck that is actually able to get a -2 out of Doomwake, as opposed to just the -1. All right, so you've got some removal scattered throughout the deck. Hero's Downfall, Murderous Cut, use Thoughtseize to strip stuff from their hands. But we all want to talk about Ugin. Like, this is the new set. We want to talk about Ugin. You got 2 in the main, 1 in the board. Is it living up to the hype?
Well, I won both my games in round 3 with it, and it is like tokens, you just -0. So it's like, and it can ultimate to Wrath the board. But the biggest thing about the card is it's just huge, and it can be your like catch-all, so you don't have to splash a color to have like a good Wrath effect. This card just comes in and blows up everything. Anyone playing Chain to the Rocks, you get your eyes back. It invalidates cards like that. It kills just all the different planeswalkers and all the problematic permanents that a deck like this could like sometimes fall behind on a bad board position. You can't really just throw everything you have against me, even though I can throw everything I have against you, because I have this huge reset button.
You have giant Ugin here to just clean the board and then just start ticking up.
And if you look at the deck list, like I'm okay if even if I have to Wrath a lot of my permanents, because like a top deck game isn't even that bad, especially after sideboard in matchups where I think I'm going to have to like ultimate my, or like -6 my Ugin, and then they can downfall it, because I'm going to have so many more big spells.
All right, so you're normally putting your Frontier Siege on cons, but the other sweet interaction with this deck is that if you have an extra one, you can put it on dragons, combo that with one of your 4 Hornet Queens, and just Wrath their board.
Sting attack. Just picture like 5 just angry bees just jumping down and killing rhinos and anaphenzas. And yeah, you don't have to block them anymore. They actually just fight all of the creatures in play.
So BBD came up to me, he's like, yep, I got to play 2 Hornet Queens and just destroy everything my opponent played, win that way. I've seen, you know, CVM and you play it using the ramp portion. It just seems very good on top of just when you got to draw a card off it too.
Turn 4 Siege is this like wonderland. It's just, it's unbelievable. It's like turn 1 Soul Ring in Cube. Like I get to do everything my deck can do. Like even if you just play it on turn 3, on turn 4, you use the 2 mana, cast a Commune, find a Hornet Queen, go to second main phase, get the 2 mana again, and then tap your 5 lands. And so like the 2 Communes either find our enchantments or find our Hornet Queens. So it's like, it's a well-oiled machine. I think the numbers aren't perfect. You guys can like, you know, mess around with the numbers, but it might need a little bit more work against Blue Black. We'll see how it goes. I built the sideboard for the matchup, but...
Speaking of the sideboard, we've covered the main deck. You've got a bunch of planeswalkers in the sideboard. 3 Nissa, 2 Garruk Apex Predator, which you're calling a new card.
It is pretty much a new card. It's not being played.
And an extra Ugin.
Yeah, the 2 Garruks I'm playing mostly because they fight other planeswalkers, but they're really good against Ugin itself because it has 7 mana, or it's 7 converted mana cost. So when Ugin comes into play, it has to just all the way ticked down, and if they Ugin and Wrath your board, you can play Garrick and kill their Ugin.
Right. It's the Ugin trump.
It's the Ugin trump, yeah.
All right, that's sweet. What are the 3 Nisses doing here? They fight and control?
They're fighting control. We need better threats for those matchups. Like, we want card advantage and hand disruption, like you always want in a deck like this. So we have Eidolons and Read the Bones to like get us some cards. But our threats aren't that good in the matchups. Like, we have Coursers and Doomwake Giants and Hornet Queens. Like, they're not getting the job done usually. Like, they give the deck enough breathing room to draw out of situations. But a Nissa that comes down is really hard for them to deal with. And it's kind of the card you palm until they have to like Wrath you, and then you play it, and you Thoughtseize them, and you like hit them with a 4/4, and then hit them with another 4/4.
Yeah, the sideboard looks very geared toward the control matchup. I mean, you got your Nissas, you got your Planeswalkers, your Read the Bones, and an extra Thoughtseize, cutting all the chaff from the deck.
Yeah, and that's because you're like a ramp deck. Anyone else playing a mid-range strategy, you're just going to go over the top of them. So you don't need more sideboard stuff. You just take a little bit of mid-range out, put more big end or more small end in, depending on if you're on the player draw or what the situation is. But you don't really need the same gimmicky stuff that we needed last time, like ways to kill, like their 3 whips, and ways to like interact with their like planeswalkers, and ways to do this. No, we just Ugin them.
Yeah.
We just cast an Ugin and kill all their stuff.
You don't need catch-all cards or little niche cards.
We don't need niche when we have the catch-all, yeah.
You got the catch-all, you don't need the niche.
Yep.
Ugin just resetting. And now you got a bunch more removal, some Bioblights, Hero Downfalls.
Yep.
What are you worried about here?
The Bioblights are just like my safety net for the format. Like, I don't know if people are going to still come with Hushing Gryphs or Goblin Rabble Masters, token strategies. It's just a very safe card to play in your sideboard. And the 2 downfalls are to help out against other like Obzon midrange, other Ugin decks, just to have removal spells, because you do want to have access to removal spells that can kill planeswalkers and creatures in these matchups, because Ugin can force the games to go long, especially if both players have them.
Right.
We'll just get into top deck wars, and it's just good to have like Read the Bones, Garricks, downfalls, because usually the mid-game stuff is going to become invalidated really quickly, actually.
In your testing, what has happened when you have Ugin squaring off? Like, is it just a...
It never happens, actually.
It hasn't actually happened?
No. We've had... It usually comes down to whose board is better, because if you ever... The person that's a little behind has to take their Ugin down because it's getting attacked, and then the other Ugin gets to pick it off.
Okay. I didn't know if you got in a situation where they're just kind of...
No, because the person that ramps an Ugin wants to wrath both players' mana development, so then the other person can't get to 8 mana.
Okay. All right, well, the deck looks sweet. You're coming off your 2 buys, you got a victory.
Yeah.
Very good looking. You've been working on it. The whole crew's playing
Me
it.
or the
CDM, BBD. Of course. Myself.
Ah.
You too.
Thank you.
You have a Players' Championship belt on the way as well.
All right, good.
Brad, thanks for sitting down with me in the
sure.
sideboard. Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Washington, D.C.